Hey everyone, I'm Adam.
And I'm Lawrence.
And we used to do this thing a long time ago where we would review games.
Sort of. We wouldn't kind of half review.
Well, we wouldn't give them a score. Scores are dumb.
We like to talk. We like to share our opinions and then leave the scores to people who like arguing with each other.
Why do I have to give a thing a number? And why does that number matter?
Oh, people like arguing.
So both Lawrence and I have been playing a lot of Halo 5.
Yeah.
We have opinions.
So and I guess another part of our disclaimer about this review process is that we both kind of played at our own pace, which means that we may not have like the top to bottom scholastic evaluation of a game. We just kind of fuck around with it, and then we think about things.
I try to think of it as the common man's game.
Yeah, there you go.
The common man's review.
We're bringing game journalism back to the people.
Anyway, let's do it. So first up, we're going to talk about the story. This is, I think this is the big point of contention for a lot of people, especially myself as a Halo fan, but I'm going to let you go first, Lawrence.
Oh, man. I was really underwhelmed. So Halo 5 has a good sense of scale. I'll say that there's a lot of big stuff happening. It's kind of an extension from Halo 4 in that regard. But man, by the end of it, nothing happened.
Well, give me a rundown of what is the story?
Okay, well, that's an interesting point. Is it the story as they presented it to you or the story as it is? Because the story as they sell it to you is that Master Chief's gone rogue and he's out doing space things, presumably having something to do with Cortana. And Spartan Locke is after him to bring him back in.
Yeah.
Because he's rogue and he's crazy. He's crazy, man. No, it doesn't happen.
Oh.
Essentially, Chief is out he's chasing Cortana. Locke is chasing Chief. And the entire game is them chasing after each other. Nothing happens in the middle. They have like a brief interlude where they drop in on the Arbiter and like, hey Arbiter, how's that Civil War going? Cool, peace out. And nothing happens there. And then in the very last level, something happens. But that has nothing to do with the actions of Chief or Locke. So essentially, both Chief and Locke could have just stayed asleep for the entirety of Halo 5 and would have ended exactly the same way.
It's like the Godzilla of video games.
Yeah, but Godzilla had a big-ass dinosaur.
It did, and this one has giant guardians
that never do anything. They just sit there. There's a part at the end where the Guardian's about to like click on and fuck something up, and then nothing happens again.
What I felt like, I got a big Halo 2 vibe from this. This is a big build-up for the epic conclusion or some sort of like third chapter. The problem was Halo 2 at least ended with an ending that left me wanting more. This one sadly it kind of fizzled, and I'm sure, I mean, I guess spoilers here or whatever.
Yeah, this is going to be a spoilery thing, so
I mean, tune out right now if you don't want to hear anything, but I think they're setting up Cortana to be, the villain.
Of course, yeah.
And the next one, and she can have sort of split personalities in different ways or whatever, so maybe there's going to be a good one and a bad one. I don't know. Either way, I was really underwhelmed.
Red Cortana and a blue Cortana?
I think the Halo stories are typically pretty good. They usually are done in the same way, where it's very Star Wars, where it kind of happens within a 1 to 2 week span. Okay. That's sort of what happens. All the games are pretty much the same. I think maybe ODST is the only one because it has a flashback element to it. So I didn't really expect anything from that, but it did just feel like they were in a rush to get through this story, and it really bothered me, especially with the way the ad campaign sold it. Where I typically don't get mad at those, except it kept reinforcing these ideas that I had that I was right about where they were going with the story, and it didn't go there. I had already assumed that Chief they're basing it off of the Halo 4, God forbid, right? Where there was sort of this animosity towards this character. But in this one, they're like, well, Chief just does whatever he wants. Like, when did this happen? I don't know. Like, they set him up where he's just out doing his own thing. And, Blue Team's back, by the way. Like, nothing was really explained. It all just kind of felt like fan service, and it bugs me as a fan.
Yeah. The thing that I've grown to like about Halo is that there are things that are unexplained, but those things seem to point to a larger world that is constructed and makes sense. So it kind of excites your imagination. There are these, like, I think you were mentioning Halo 2. Halo 2 at least had those tugs, like it had the Overmind, right?
A
Gravemind.
See, that's okay.
How much I know about Halo, but at least there was something weird in there. There was a poetry spewing piranha plant. They grabbed Chief and was like telling him all this big lore shit. And as a player, you're like, well, that probably means something, and you're trying to piece together the larger world of Halo. Here, it's like the only nod you get to the larger world is there are Guardians, and there is a Warden, and they just kind of float around, and they are tools of this other thing that is kind of explained. It's all very quantifiable and known, which is a weird situation to be in when it comes to Halo.
It is sort of this odd thing where it sort of feels like it's starting to feel more like a video game to me and less of a story. And I've always preached that I find gameplay to be more fun than story, except when it comes to Halo, because I feel like they have such a beautiful world and a universe that they crafted. And when the Forerunners are just kind of there, it just feels like they're there just to serve a purpose, to move forward and drop a new gun for you.
Yeah.
And,
orange guns
instead
of blue ones.
And now they're just, now that, the flood is gone, we sort of need to fill in these gaps, but it just feels sort of like the surprise is gone. And it was just overall, the story was really disappointing. And for me personally, it's my least favorite story of the series.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And also, I love to bag on Halo's story, so it's kind of down there.
Anyway.
But oddly, like, I'm glad that you said it the way you did. Maybe my least favorite Halo story, but it was my most fun to play.
Oh, totally. Yeah, so let's move on to the next part, actually, the controls. The controlling of the game, I'll say right off the bat, is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's weird how different it is, because so there was that Halo intro that came out, which shows Fireteam Osiris just like running down a mountain and massacring everybody. And I remember seeing that and thinking that never really felt like Halo to me, because in Halo you were big and slow and you have these giant jumping arcs and big guns that go bang bang. Now Halo 5, you've got like mantling and boosting and hovering while you aim down sights and all this stuff. It feels a lot more nimble. Everyone likes to say it's more Call of Duty-esque.
Sure.
It is in the sense that it's faster and more responsive, and I like that. It doesn't feel like Call of Duty to me, though.
I think what it does is it borrows elements. I think Halo found a way to stay relevant, because try going back and play Master Chief Collection, you feel like you move like molasses, especially in today's world. When the game's running at 60 frames per second, you kind of want to move quicker. And it carries over from single player to multiplayer, I think, flawlessly. They changed enough, but it didn't go too crazy that it felt too out of place. Like they didn't, you're not shooting rockets out of your hand or anything like that. They kept the elements that made Halo Halo, and I thought I was going to hate ground pound and that sort of thing. I ended up using it way more than I thought I would. So all the new moves and everything, it makes sense in today's generation.
Yeah, and the options they open up for multiplayer are really exciting. So in single player, I was a little underwhelmed. It seems like the extent of monster design in single player was you have to shoot it in the back. So it's like, okay, dodge around, command your AI dudes. If you're playing co-op, you can shoot it in the back. But it's like they added 3 new enemy types that are all shoot them in the back. Whereas in multiplayer, the exchange between the boost and like the limited recharge on it, the ground pound, and the shoulder charge are all really interesting to me. It kind of creates this rock, paper, scissors in my head of things you can do, especially when you know if somebody's already used their cooldown. Like if somebody comes in for a ground charge or a ground pound, you know you've got a couple of seconds on them before they can move again. If somebody's boosted out of the way, you know you've got a couple of tricks you can pull on them because they can't get out of the way again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It adds a layer of mind games to Halo, where Halo was already a pretty mind gamey kind of shooter.
I always called it basically the chess of shooters. It's
all about positioning.
Yeah, or rock, paper, scissors, where you have these 3 moves, melee, grenades, gun, and now you're adding basically additions of those elements, but they aren't so extreme that I found them to be distracting. Actually, I found that they help the game move, and that was the thing. I wasn't really enjoying the story of Halo 5, but I was having a good time because it's just fun to kill shit. Let's move over to the pretty graphics.
Those goddamn 3 wardens are on you. Man, okay, so I had been feeling more and more depressed about the state of Xbox One. Not that I'm like emotionally tied to it, but I want every little hunk of plastic to have its own little baby. And the PS4 has had some really fucking amazing looking games. Until Dawn is astounding. Even Killzone Shadowfall looked really, really good.
It was a launch game.
Yeah, right? And the Xbox One had yet to get, Rise was good.
Right.
Was good. But Halo 5 to me is the technical game that the Xbox needed to prove, like, I can still punch weight here. Man, the 60 FPS, it does have a scaling resolution. There was like one level where I could tell is like, ooh, this is pretty low.
Sure.
It's a little grainy, but it looks really good otherwise.
Right. At the end of the day, we've always said this before, if you want a PC,
Yeah, that's true.
drop the $800 to $1,600 down on a machine that's going to do it. At the end of the day, this is a budget piece of plastic that's running a game, and the fact that it is running at 60 frames per second, pretty solid. I'm impressed, and I'm a bit more forgiving of the compromises that they made that you can see mostly in the single player. I haven't seen much of it in the multiplayer, but you do see this weird sort of thing with the enemies where they're running at, like, they look like GIFs.
Yeah.
Just kind of like running in the background. You're like, that's strange, but I get it. It's a draw distance thing. They did a lot of tricks, and I'm actually really glad that they locked down the 60 frames. I think that was worth it.
Yeah, the more I play it, the more tricks I can see. There's certain things like explosion effects start disappearing. I've noticed some of the Forerunner dudes, when you shoot them, they explode into this like cool fractal cloud and then collapse again. That stops happening when there's a lot of dudes on screen, and it's entirely to save frame rate. And that's okay. That's the goal of good game design, is that you kind of sweep all that stuff under the rug so people don't notice. It is a little noticeable in 5, but not so much.
Yeah, and I know we get really into the nitty-gritty sometimes, and I think we sometimes forget what's actually important when it comes to video games, because I know we look at different Ps and different resolution and different frame rates, but a lot of it comes down to the art direction and how good they can hide a lot of those flaws.
Yeah.
And I think the art direction in Halo is amazing. Like when you go to certain alien worlds, these like foreign worlds, like
They're really pretty.
they're so pretty.
So, Adam, you played a lot more multiplayer than I have, which
I
is
have.
to say you've played any amount of multiplayer. I actually haven't
Yeah.
done any of it yet.
Yeah, they did something really pretty interesting with the multiplayer this time around. I think they looked at the Halo audience and they split it into two groups. They said these are the guys who want to have fun and these guys who want pro.
Uh-huh.
I've seen it play different ways, and I think for too long they were trying to mash the two, and finally they just put a really fine line and said, all right, we got Arena and we got Warzone. Go nuts, kids. And so Arena is basically everything is balanced. Everything makes sense. There's pickups on the ground. You start with an AR. You start with a pistol. There's no loadouts. There's none of that bullshit. I mean, like, I didn't really harp bad on it when Halo 4 came out, but the more I played it, I really hated the loadout system.
Yeah.
And the way it didn't work for Halo, and the way they've done it now, they've pulled it way back. And now that everyone has an even playing field and everyone has the same armor abilities, it's good. So,
Yeah? You feel good? Feel good about it?
I've been having a great time.
You go pro MLG Halo 5?
I am not pro MLG Halo 5. Halo has always been a game that I've strived to be better at, and playing this one, it's the sort of game where a really good game is easy to learn, impossible to master.
Yeah.
And that is sort of what Halo is for me. And now the fact that it's running at such a nice frame rate, and there's this new $150 controller out there that'll apparently make me a god.
Jesus.
I'm like, I'm way more invested in this right now. And like, my crack used to be Destiny, and I'd play Destiny multiplayer. But now Halo's is so good, the multiplayer is so damn good that like I'm just gonna probably be playing that.
You said the Raider got smaller too, right?
The Raider, from what I understand, that it got reduced from 30 meters to 18 meters. At this point right now, that's kind of my biggest gripe, is that the radar seems somewhat useless, but I think I've actually gotten some really good kills. It only really works for vertical,
Right.
Basically now, where you can tell if someone's above you. I wish they would extend it for stuff like Warzone, and then maybe keep it for the same size for the arena multiplayer stuff. But then one of the new modes, Breakout, I think is pretty cool. It's a very reminiscent of Counter-Strike. It's basically you have one life. When you die, you're out.
Okay.
And it's first to 5, so there's either an objective or it's just straight kills. But very simplified maps, very bare bones, just blue, and they seem to be catering to. It's kind of crazy. They are catering to every walk of Halo life without really pissing anyone off.
And how do you feel about the rec pack system? I know that was potentially going to ruffle some feathers before it actually came out, but people seem cool with it now.
I wasn't sure. I mean, I like it. They're just doing what everyone else does, and I think it's smart. It's you're opening crates. That's it, and they're not charging you for it, so you can save up points in the game that you get, or you can lay money down. And what I like about this overall is that it's gonna take the place of paid maps. So there will be new maps. This is what they've said. I'm not factoring this into a review or anything, but from what they've said, these rec packs I'm really curious to see what the numbers are gonna be from those, what people are dumping on those things, but they're just doing the CSGO model where we'll keep giving you new maps, we'll give you new stuff, and like I said, Forge isn't out yet, and so people are gonna be making new stuff like that. But ideally, we will get a never-ending piece of content, because there will be a different way of funding the game. If you don't know what Warzone is, I'll explain it to you.
Sure.
It's essentially the replacement for Big Team Battle. Right now, it feels like a big mess from what I've played, because people don't really know what they're doing. They just get out there.
There's no coordination.
No, they're playing it like Slayer, and
Gotcha.
killing other players doesn't really get you that many points. I notice killing like a Promethean Knight or one of those things, like that will net you a bigger score.
Really?
But the thing I really like is the vehicle spawns. Typically in Big Team Battle, it'd always be one guy sitting there waiting. He'd get into the tank, and then someone would kill him, and then take the tank, and then drive away. Thanks. Now you do the booster pack, you buy your card or whatever, and if you don't have a Scorpion, you can't call in a Scorpion. So now there's incentive to keep playing it, so you can get these cards, and it's all RNG, so that you can have a Scorpion in the match, and when you spawn the Scorpion, you're in it. It's yours. You spawn inside of it, and you drive out, and people get in, and I've seen less assholes online, basically, people trying to kill you and take your shit. They're just moving on. And then same with like the power weapons. I don't know if you've seen any of those, but like you get certain weapons with like perks that are like they're a little overpowered, and that's the part that kind of throws off the balance. But if you kill that guy, you can take his weapon. It's kind of nice. So they still found a way of making this insane mode fun.
You said you had complaints though.
I do wish there was more AI on screen. Like I do
see.
wish it was a bit more chaotic. Something similar like Titanfall. Like there's usually just 3 Marines in a base, because you have to kill them and then you can take a base over. And there's like kind of this cool element to it where you have to take over these bases, and once those are locked down, you can go take down the power node. So there was actually a time where we were losing points-wise, but our team managed to take over the 3 bases, and we moved in and we took down the power node, even though we were down 300 points.
Oh, wow.
So you can turn it, which I did like. It's like, so there is like a weird level of balance because we just rolled in with a bunch of tanks because of the way the rec points work.
That's pretty cool.
It's interesting. Like I said, it's kind of cool, and I'm really curious to see. I think we need more maps. I would ideally like maybe a slightly smaller map, just something. But supposedly those are going to be free, so we'll see what happens.
And what's your verdict on Arena?
Arena, I play it. It's good. I think it's the best the multiplayer has been since 3.
Ooh.
Yeah. Or, I mean, maybe Reach. Reach had some of its problems.
Reach had armor lock.
Had armor lock, but I did like the idea that they added sprint and some other things like the DMR and things like that. But I'm having such a blast with it. Like, I'm looking forward to playing some of it today. The problem is there's just too many games coming out, but it's... If you were to ask me, like, hey, let's play a multiplayer game, I would say, yeah, let's play Halo before any other game. Even Overwatch, Spool.
So, as an ultimate Halo fan, you give this. What do you get? How many Cortanas you throw at this game?
I can't.
Like,
I give it a solid 7 Cortanas out of 10 Master Chiefs.
If every Halo were lined up before you and they all worked, and like you could get into a multiplayer match for any of them, which one would you grab?
It falls somewhere. It's tough to say. Like I said, the story to me was lacking. It didn't strike my fancy, and it sucks because I'm such a lore nut, and I really do like the story, and it really sucks being a Halo fan and feeling like I'm not interested in the story anymore.
Aww.
That doesn't feel good. I don't like that feeling. So it hurts me there, but the multiplayer is so good, and the game is just, from a technical standpoint, is such an accomplishment. So it falls, I can't really, I mean, I don't know, I'll make a chart one day, but yeah, I mean, look, if you have to buy one Halo on the next gen system, maybe get Master Chief Collection, but also you should get this one because it's pretty good.
So buy all Halos.
Buy all the Halos. I'm a big, like I said, if you are a Halo fan, if you're only in it for the single player, it's probably not the sort of thing you want to check out. But if you even have any interest in multiplayer, for the love of God, please check it out. It's fun. It's just fun to jump in there with your friends or alone and just kind of learn the mechanics of the game, because if you want to get good, you can get good.
There you go. As somebody who doesn't like playing online much, I'm really excited to get into Halo just because they finally made it feel welcoming to me, which doesn't make a lot of sense, and I don't know quite how to quantify that. But when I look through all the unlocks and all the crazy shit you can do and like the different modes, and I guess the biggest thing about Warzone to me is it's the perfect like dabble your toe in mode, because nobody gives a fuck what you're doing, and you can accidentally kill yourself and your entire team multiple times and no one will be able to tell. So it's like that chaos kind of masks your badness with the game, and it also gives you kind of a cloak of anonymity. And then once maybe you feel like you're good, you can go into arena and get your ass wrecked over and over again.
You know what, actually this 100% does remind me of Halo 2, because I remember I played Halo 2 almost nonstop multiplayer until Halo 3 came out. So I think actually Halo 5 is the game that you could potentially play the multiplayer, especially if they support it the way they said, until Halo 6 gets announced and we can finally get the story that I think we deserve.
Well, there you go,
in
guys.
some way.
Halo 5 is the best Halo until Halo 6.
That's how I kind of feel.
We're really harsh here.
I need to draw that chart.
Yeah, get on it.
7 Cortanas. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's
a good score.
14 robot boobs.
Put that on Metacritic.
She's intimidating because she's naked.
Hey, let us know if you want more of these sort of review games. I know we got Assassin's Creed and Fallout around the corner.
No!
What, really?
Joel says no.
Well, I've been playing Assassin's Creed, and I have things I want to say about it. So if you like it, let us know, please. Let us know in many different ways that you can interact with YouTube.
Yeah, and share it with your friends, because we need views.
Tell your friends. Don't burp.